Okay, so you already know how to do this problem. Okay, this is exactly the same problem we did yesterday. I want to walk through the steps with you, right? Not me telling you the steps, but walking through the steps with you to remind you how to do this so that we can get to problems that are a little bit more difficult. Because didn't I tell you yesterday that today is a little bit more difficult? Yes? Okay. So we're going to do this the long way. I know we can do it the shortcut way. How do you know we can do it the shortcut way? Because a is 1, right? Not x squared. X squared is a variable. Because a is 1, I can do this the shortcut way, right? I don't want to do it the shortcut way. I'm going to do it the long way. And for those of you who weren't here yesterday, how many steps is the long way? 3, right? It's 4 lines written. That includes the problem, right? So it's not really all that long. So first of all, we say, let's say C. Well, A is 1 and C is 12, so AC is 12. And what's B? 7. So what two numbers multiply to be 12 and add to be 7? 3 and 4, right? So I split my middle term. This term right here, I'm going to split it into 2 parts. The 2 parts that you just told me. So x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 12. Does that make sense? Okay. Now what do I do? Factor by grouping. Perfect. Factor by grouping. What's common in the first 2 terms? X. If I factor out an x, what's left? X plus 3. Very good. What's common in the second 2 terms? A 4. What if I factor out a 4? What's left? X plus 3. Now what is common in these 2 terms? X plus 3. And if I factor out an x plus 3, what's left? So x plus 4, right? Answer is x plus 3 times x plus 4. Which you already knew, right? Because if we did the shortcut way, multiplies to be 12, adds to be 7, 3, and 4. X plus 3, x plus 4, right? Everybody okay with that? Okay. So why did I walk you through these steps again? Because our next problems look like this. And I can't do the shortcut. That is absolutely correct. Okay? Tell me again why I can't do the shortcut. A ain't 1. Okay, we'll go with that.
Eight's not a word.
Thank you. Okay. So, where do we start? We start in the same place though, right? What is AC? Well, A is here, B is here, C is here, right? So A is 3, C is -8. So what is AC? -24. Listening is a good skill to have, right? Okay, good. What's B? -5. So what two numbers, don't answer, please don't answer. What two numbers multiply to be -24 and add to be -5? Don't answer. Think. Don't answer out loud. What two numbers multiply to be -24 and add to be -5? If you know, show me with your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We comfortable? What you got, Drew?
-8 and 3.
Everybody okay with -8 and 3?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to split my middle term into 2 parts. The 2 parts he just said. 3x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 8. Okay? Now that there's 4 terms, what do I do? Factor by grouping. Very good. What's common in the first 2 terms? An x, that's all, right? What's left if I factor out an x? 3x minus 8. What's common in the last 2 terms? Knowing that I have to take out something. 1. Right? Very good. I have to factor out a 1. Because my parentheses have to be the same, right? Well, the only thing, first of all, there's not a greatest common factor between these 2 at all, right? But that means the greatest common factor is 1, because I have to take something out, correct? Now, what do these 2 terms have in common? A 3x minus 8. And once I take 3x minus 8, away, what's left?
X plus 1.
X plus 1. Now, earlier they asked me a really good question. They said, besides walking back to your desk and checking the answer key, because we can do that on our homework, right? Is there a way to check our answers, like on a test or something? Well, there is, isn't there? Can't I just do backwards of what I just did? Can't I take this and multiply it out and see if I get the original problem? Yeah, absolutely. Now that's extra steps over here that are not required to get to the answer, because the directions are what? Factor completely, right? That's here is the answer. But if you do want to check your work, multiply it back out. Combine like terms. Did you get what was the original problem? If you did, then this is correct. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it get harder? Yes. And I would be not very kind if I just threw you to the wolves. Okay? So I'm going to do one for you, maybe even two. Actually, I think I will do two. I'm going to do two that are a little bit tougher. You ready? 16x squared minus 20x minus 36. What's your first instinct? AC, right? That's my first instinct also. But would you please remember back to 2 days ago when we very first started factoring? And I said there's always one thing you should do very first every time. Remember? Greatest common factor. Do you remember that? Even if you didn't remember it a second ago, do you remember it now that I'm saying it out loud? Yes? Okay. Yeah. Guys, do you want to multiply 16 times negative 36 and get negative 576 and try to figure out what multiplies to be negative 576 and adds to be negative 20? Yeah, me neither. Right? That's a mess. Okay? So how about if we check out a greatest common factor? What do you think is the greatest common factor between 20, 16, and 36? 2 definitely works. 2 is a common factor. Is there anything else? 4. A 4 would be the greatest common factor, right? Okay. Now, if you took a 2 out, you would notice that they were all still even, and you would know to take another 2 out. Okay. But if we'll start by taking a 4 out, that'll make our lives a little bit easier. Okay. So what I'm left with is what? 4x squared minus 5x minus 9. Now, don't you think working with these numbers are going to be a little bit easier? So what's AC? Negative 36. And what's B? Negative 5. Now, if I'm trying to decide A, B, and C to figure out AC, what do I do with this 4? Yeah, I'm just ignoring it, right? For now. I'm going to drag it along with me, right? Don't you all have friends like that? I do. No, I'm just teasing. Right? A is in front of the x squared. B is in front of the x. C is the constant at the end, right? No variables with it. That's not labeled because it's not one of our important coefficients that we have right here. Or, yeah, important coefficients, okay? So when I do the next step, I need to just drag that 4 along, okay? So what multiplies to be negative 36 and adds to be negative 5, please don't answer out loud yet. Multiplies to be negative 36 and adds to be negative 5. Do you know? Yes, I see a lot of nodding. I see some hands. Kira, what you got? Do you know? Tell me. It's okay.
Negative 9 and 4.
So negative 9x and positive 4x. Is that what you said? Perfect. Because remember what we did right here is I split that middle term into 2 parts, right? Why do I do that again? How many terms does that give me? 4. And how do I know how to factor with 4 terms? By grouping, right? And over the last couple of days, you've shown me that you're really good at grouping, right? Because grouping is not really factoring 4 terms. Isn't it just really factoring 2 at a time? Right? And you guys can typically handle that, can't you? Okay? What's the greatest common factor in these first 2 terms? X What's left if I factor out an x? Very good. 4x minus 9. What's common in the second two terms? Very good. What's left? Still dragging the 4 along with me, right? What's common in these two terms? 4x minus 9. And what's left if I factor out a 4x minus 9? X plus 1. Got it? Now, did that start off to look more difficult? But once I took out a greatest common factor, wasn't as difficult, was it? Okay? I'd like to show you one more. Negative 12x squared minus 93x plus 135. No, I'm not trying to hurt you on purpose. Okay? But there is one or two that are similar to this that show up on your homework, and I didn't want to leave you out to dry. Okay? What do you think we ought to do first? Greatest common factor would be a good choice. Do you happen to know what the greatest common factor is here? Yeah, it's not 2, right? They're not all even. Is it 3? Do you know if they're all divisible by 3? Do you know the trick to know if a number is divisible by 3? Ooh, can I teach you? Okay, first of all, we'll start with 12 because we know 12 is divisible by 3, right? I'll teach you the trick using 12. What is 1 plus 2? 3. Is 3 divisible by 3? Then so is 12. What is 9 plus 6? 15. Is 15 divisible by 3? Then so is 96. 1 plus 3? 4 plus 5? Is 9 divisible by 3? And so is 135. That always works for 3s. It actually, for the record, also works for 9s. Okay, but 3s and 9s, that's how you can tell if something's divisible by 3 or 9. Okay, which one of these numbers is divisible by 9, for the record? Only the last one, right? Because 1, 3, and 5 is 9, and 9 is divisible by 9. This one's 15. 15 is not divisible by 9. And 3 is not divisible by 9. Does that make sense? Okay? That was just a little side lesson, real quick. Okay? So we know it's divisible by 3, right? 3 is our greatest common factor. Can I argue with you a little? Just a small, tiny bit? Okay? Do you really want a negative x squared term? Do you want a negative a? No. I don't care if I have a negative b. I don't care if I have a negative c. But when a is negative, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. Okay, so instead of dividing or factoring out a 3, what might we do instead? Negative 3. Let's factor out a negative 3. Okay, if we factor out a negative 3, what are we left with? 4x squared minus, plus 31x minus 45, yeah. Because I divided each one of those numbers by a negative 3, correct? You guys okay? Two?
Isn't 96 divided by that should be 13?
Yeah, no, I just wrote the wrong number. Thank you. No, good catch. No, that was on me. I just wrote the wrong number.
Golly, Miss Keys.
I know. It's almost like I'm a human or something.
You're not.
But what did I appreciate about what just happened? He corrected me respectfully, right?
Respectfully.
Everybody okay with that? Okay. Now what? Now we got to do AC, right? AC is what? Let's make sure we remember this. A is 4, B is 32, and C is negative 45. Okay. Negative 180. Negative 180, and then B is 32, right? So there's two reasons that I'm doing this exact problem for you. Okay? The first reason was to talk about the negative a part. The second reason was to talk about this part right here. Okay? Here's the deal, guys. Do you know all the factors of 180 off the top of your head? No? Can you tell me real quick what multiplies to be negative 180 and adds to be 32? No. So we have to have a strategy when we don't have numbers that come to us real fast. Okay? So can I just show you what I do? Is that okay? I'm just going to come over here to the side and I'm going to start writing the factors of 180. 1 and 180. 2 and 90. 3 and 60. 4, does 4 work? Well, I hope so, because that's how we got it, right? 4 and 45. What am I looking for again? I'm looking for a combination that'll give me 32, right? Okay. Am I there yet? No? Okay. 5 and 36. Ooh, that's close. 6. Is this number divisible by 6? Is 180 divisible by 6? Do you know how I know? Because it's divisible by 2 and 3. So 180 divided by 6. 37. No. 8. No. 9. Oh, 9. Okay. 9 and 20. 10. 18. Okay. 11. I don't think so. 12. 12 and 15. 13. If it makes you feel any better, I just realized my mistake. Because in my notes, I had 31. That's why I wrote down a 31. Because I know 31 is right, because look at 31 right here. Right here. But when I wrote down the original problem, I accidentally wrote a 6 instead of a 3. Another example of my humanness, right? I messed up. Can we fix that real fast? Can we make this a 3? Because if we make that a 3, this is a 1, isn't it? Can you forgive me for that, please? Yes? Okay. So what am I splitting this middle term into? Now, I'm not saying I did that on purpose, because that was clearly an accident, right? But is that possible for it to happen to you on your homework? Right? When you're copying stuff from a paper, or even just writing it from it's there, from where it is it possible for you to miswrite a number sometimes? Yeah? Okay. What should you do if that happens? So you could be double checking, right? You can always go back and look at the problem right before and make sure all your numbers are right. But what if you get into a situation where you're supposed to be 32 and you go all through the factors like this, you used all the strategies that I showed you to use, and you're like, I got nothing. What do you do? Checking your work would help. Asking your partner, your table group, asking me. Any of us can probably find that error, right? Okay? So, did I do this on purpose? No, it was a total accident. I totally messed up. But how about if we use my error as a learning tool for you guys? Is that okay? Okay? So, if I would have written this problem right, it would have been 93. Then this would have been 31. And we would have found, as we were going through and writing our factors to the side, we would have seen, we probably stopped right there, right? Yes? So, what do I split this middle term into parts? What are the parts? Oh, 36 and negative 5? Is that what you want to use? Why do you want to use 36 and negative 5? Yeah, that's the only way to get us to positive 31, right? I need a negative 45, or sorry, negative 180, but I need a positive 31. I'm going to change that too as well so I don't mess up later. Okay? So I need a positive 36 and a negative 5. Oops, X. Got it? Yeah? Guys, what I don't want to have happen is you get all the way down here, like if this was still a 32, I don't want you to get all the way down here and quit. Right? That would be a bad choice. Even if you're frustrated, I don't want you to quit. I want you to ask your table group, I want you to ask me. Is that fair? Okay. So back here, what do I do now? Factor by grouping. Yeah, absolutely. I'm still dragging this negative 3 along, right? What's common in the first two terms? What else? A 4, right? Don't they both have a 4x? So 4x. Now, at some point, if we would have just written an x, we would have known that was wrong because I would get over here and didn't get parentheses that were the same. Okay? That's another situation where you might mess up by not taking out the right common factor. Then you just go back up a step and see if that can help, yes? So if I take out a 4x, what's left? X plus 9. Okay? What's common in the second two? Now, what happens if you can't see that right away? Don't you know your parentheses needs to be x plus 9? So what do I take away from here, or factor out from here to know that I need it to be an x? A negative 5, right? Now you guys saw it right away, but that's a strategy to use if you can't see necessarily what to factor out. Does that make sense? Okay? So I get x plus 9 again, right? Okay? So again, still dragging that negative 3 along. What do I have left? What's common in these two? X plus 9. And what's left? If I factor out an x plus 9? Or x minus 5. Questions? We good?